Welcome to the Navigating My Crazy podcast. I'm Shayla. Navigating My Crazy is a weekly podcast created for moms trying to balance life, family, purpose, and wanting to improve their mental wellness. Our goal is to inspire conversations necessary to end the stigma associated with mental health and the unrealistic societal expectations related to being a mom. But most importantly, to create a community so that no mom ever feels alone as we all navigate this crazy thing called life together. This episode is brought to you by Shayla Shaw Empowerment. In addition to hosting and producing this podcast, I am a certified empowerment coach for moms. Are you in need of support and accountability as you work to achieve personal and professional goals? Are you looking to enhance skills, resources, and the creativity needed to overcome depressive behaviors, preventing you from being present, thriving, and enjoying your family? Then you need an empowerment coach. If you have any questions or want to set up a consultation, email me via shayla@shaylashaw.com, or if you want to know more about me or my services, visit shaylashaw.com. Let's start this show. All right, so on this episode of the Navigating My Crazy podcast, we will be discussing postpartum depression. And joining me in this discussion is Miss Keisha Law. She is the proud wife and mom of two sons, Rabriel and Trey. Keisha is also the author of Me, She, Her, a woman's journal for becoming. Along with being a branch manager, she is also an elder at the Praise Temple Full Gospel Baptist Cathedral, and she shares ownership of the T Shop 3, a custom printing company, with her husband, Zumi Law Jr. Welcome to the show, Keisha.
Hi, I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you being here. So I really related to Keisha's book, Me, She, Her, because of the shared experiences that we have with postpartum depression. She also named her depressive state her dark place, which is exactly what I named mine. And if you don't mind, I do want to share just a couple of excerpts from your book, if you don't mind sharing with the audience. Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. So one of the lines that really caught me was this when she says, "My parents had to give him what I could not do for myself at the time. There were days and nights when I cried in anguish because I wanted to love my baby boy and could not muster up the strength to nurture and love him as a mother should have." And then in another point in the book, she states, with postpartum depression, feelings of sadness and anxiety can be extreme and might interfere with a woman's ability to care for herself and her family. Imagine those feelings mixed with the guilt of not being a good mother already, misery of having little self-love, self-consciousness of others being aware of your plight, hopelessness because you are not equipped to make the feelings vanish, and depression stained with inability to cope. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And all of that, I experienced all of that. I had postpartum depression with all three of my pregnancies, but the last one was the worst. And there was a point I remember putting my son in his car seat and getting his bag and just taking him to his dad, because I was like, I can't do this. I felt awful. I didn't tell anybody in my family. Of course, his family knew, but I just couldn't. And I just felt horrible, of course, for him, but I was just so disconnected. So everything that you said, it just made everything so vivid. When you were experiencing these issues after you had your first son, had you heard of or knew anything about postpartum depression?
I had heard about postpartum, but I really didn't know what it was. It was only until I had my first son, Rabriel. And when I had him, it was to the point when we were in the hospital room, the nurse came in and she wanted to call child protection because she said that she never seen me bond with my baby. But my mom was right there by my side. and she was there to nurture and take care of him. You know, that's what I talk about when I say my mom was right there. She gave him what I couldn't give him at that moment because she recognized what I was going through. She stepped right in and she said, I got him. I'm here. I've been here. She'll bond with him. Sometimes it takes some people longer. The nurse didn't bother me anymore, and I was able to take my son home, but I was living with my mom at that time. When we got home, it was my mom that took care of him. It was like no connection. It wasn't that I didn't love my son, but because of some of the tragic things that happened to me, I just could not connect with him. My heart was saying, that's your baby boy. But my body physically would not allow me to just connect to him. I would look at him. I would even murmur a prayer over him, but I could not connect to something that I wasn't connected to myself. I didn't know how to love myself. So therefore, I could not give him the proper love that he needed. But my mom was right there to nurture him. And to this day, he calls my mom, Mom. I'm not angry about it because she was right there. But he does know that I'm his mother and we have a bond now.
So what were some flags or some symptoms that you experienced that made you feel like this may not be, the normal mom experience?
I had a lot of hidden anxiety. I was very sad. I just wanted to be to myself. I pushed his father away. I would buy for him anything that he needed. I was right there to provide for him. But the love that a child desires and needs, it's just like I couldn't muster it up to provide. As I talked about in the book, there's no childhood memories that I remember about my kids. That may be sad to say to some others, but until you've gone through something like that, you wouldn't understand. I only remember his first birthday. And after that, they have to tell me what their childhood was like. It was just that sadness, just always wanting to be by myself, pushing people away that I needed to allow to come in.
Do you understand about those mental blockages? So that was interesting. So can you give us a little more information?
So it's only in certain stages God allowed some things to come back to my remembrance. But to this day, I still cannot remember past the first birthday party of my eldest son and my baby boy. I don't remember any of it, any birthday celebrations. And I know that they were there. But again, with the second child, my husband, God sent me a husband who would love me unconditionally. He stepped in and he didn't even realize what was going on, with me either. But he never left. He was right there by my side to pray. And he took care of my baby boy, Trey. So it's now, after 25 years, that I began to know how to love my kids, how to talk to my kids, encourage them. I would do it silently, but never openly. It's now that I'm able to say, I love you, and to really speak into their lives as I'm becoming.
Wow. Were you able to recognize that something was different, or do you think that the others around you recognized it and just stepped in, or were you able to ask them for help?
I was not able to ask them for help. I just thought that I was different. I knew that there was something special about me, but then the enemy would always come in and make me think that I was not smart. I wasn't intelligent. You can't comprehend. So just be quiet. Just get to yourself. And if you don't get around people, then people wouldn't have to notice. So I would dumb myself down so that I would be recognized because I needed to be hidden, is what I thought.
Wow. Yes, I totally connect with that. I spent most of my time in my room, spent a lot of time in my room by myself. And I would just read because I didn't want to do anything else. I just didn't want to be around other people. And I didn't want to be weird for not wanting to be around other people. So I used that opportunity to read. And of course, I enjoyed reading at that point. But yes, totally understand. When you found out that you were expecting, were there emotions that you experienced and knowing that you were having, another child after the experience that you had with your first son?
I think I was excited. But I've always been told that you never show emotions, you never show expressions. Even with me being pregnant, I'm like, okay, I'm pregnant. Okay, we just have to deal with it, move forward. Even when my husband proposed to me at midnight in front of his family and he was on his knees, I just looked up and I said yes and went back to sleep. Afterwards, he's like, you didn't show no type of expression, emotions, but as he found out, he understood the emotions was gone. All I could do was cry, be sad. I could be happy for everybody else, right. But for me, that was just the hardest thing. That was some of the feelings.
This is just me being nosy. So as far as your husband is concerned, does he show a lot of emotion?
Absolutely. He does. He's the one that you will see smiling. And I'm like, what's funny? What are you so excited about? I can truly say that I believe he was my soulmate because he showed me a side that I've never seen or would even imagine to tap into. He's took me places that I would have never ventured out on my own. He's just been that perfect helpmate to push me to destiny. He's been right there.
And I tell my husband the same thing. I used to say, do you wake up happy? Like, who wakes up happy? Right. Like, I have to get into it after waking up, but he just wakes up happy. And I was like, that's what attracted me to him, because it was just that energy. And he's just always like, nothing bothers him long. It just seems to be off his shoulders. And I'm like, how do you do that? So you just feel yourself wanting to be around people that have that thing, because
that energy.
Because it's like, well, maybe it'll rub off, and it has a little. I've learned a lot from him. Totally understand. So that's why I asked that question, because we tend to find ourselves attracting, the things that we want in ourselves.
Absolutely. It's just been an everyday fight. But the things that I know now, and knowing who I am and whose I am and who I belong to, it makes it easier. Because I can get up and then I can begin to just quote that the scripture that God says, for I know the plans that I have for you. So that gives me the encouragement, girl, you great in God. You can be who God created you to be. So I'm becoming.
Absolutely. So I know you were saying that you struggled a lot with telling your kids that you love them, but you start to do it more often. My mom would tell us, because she didn't hear or get all of that from her mom. So she always told us she loved us. She always hugged and kissed us. So when we go around my grandparents and my aunts and cousins, they still don't do it. So they kind of look at us weird. So what was it like the first time that you thought, hey, I'm going to say it, and then you actually said it to your sons?
It's kind of weird. Still kind of feels weird, because I could say it to you. I could say it to my church members. I could say it to my coworkers, everybody else around me. But I guess because I pushed my parents and those that loved me away from me growing up as a little girl, it feels kind of weird. But I know it's right. I know it's the right thing to do, because that's something that they need to hear it. So I'll find myself sometimes real quickly, I love you. Love you. Have a good day. Because I'm not used to, it feels kind of funny, because just the violation piece have you struggling with love. And so that could be a reason why I pushed them too with the postpartum, because the violation. So I need to protect them. So as long as they're not around me, they will be protected. I still struggle with that, but I find myself getting better.
And just from a different standpoint, were your parents more of the hug, kiss, I love you type of parents?
I see them doing that now. I can remember this, but I don't remember those days. But my mom always say, I love you more than anything. And I gave you the world, but you act like we didn't connect. You don't love me. It's still to this day, sometimes she would say, what did I do to you? Or I don't feel connected to you. Why won't you connect to me? And I'm like, no, I love you, more than anything. But to express it, I guess I didn't do a good job in that. I just don't remember that. I don't.
And that was a point in the book where you talked about the resentment and the non-connection with your mom. My mom and I have experienced that, and she'll say, well, you'll say you miss me, and then I come and tend to hug you, and I pull back. And I do, because if I hug someone it's different. But when someone comes in to hug me, then
Right.
I have to mentally prepare. And so my automatic is to pull back. And so like you were saying,
Absolutely.
a lot of times when there is violation that happens,
Mhm.
I feel that way. And then it was another portion in the book where you were saying, felt like your mom should have known. And I felt the same way. If you're my mom, it should be something about me that's different now that you should be seeing. And I did have that resentment. So it was that closed offness from her and that non-connection because I felt that resentment, like she should have known something was different. She said she would know, but something happened and you don't know and you can't tell. And I feel like I'm giving you signs. Of course, I can't tell you, but I feel like I'm giving you signs and you're not receiving them.
Even with that, I can remember as a little girl, my mom always asking me, you would tell me if somebody ever, she always questioned or asked the question, have anything ever happened to you? But no, I mean, just everybody leave me alone. Let me be the little girl by myself. She did ask those questions. We always had family that was in and out of our home that she showed love to. So I know she had to show it to me, but because I didn't want to receive, like you said, you have to prepare yourself to receive a type of love that's been stolen or taken away from you at an early age. And so that was part of it. And then with her, she had been molested. That goes back to it happened to her. So she constantly asks me, I don't care if it's your daddy, your brother, your uncle. I need you to tell me if something has ever happened to you. But I would always say, no, I'm good. I'll be all right. But she knew that it was something different. This girl is to herself. She would go spend the night with her family and cousins. She'll call me in the middle of the night and say, come get me. And they would be so mad. But it was the point that I didn't want anything else to happen to me.
Right.
So I would go back to my safety place, which was my mom, the very person who thought that we didn't connect. But I had to be right there. I slept in the bed with them until I had my first baby.
Really?
So that's the connect, because
Right.
that was my comfort.
Mm-hmm.
That was my connection. And everybody used to joke with me, girl, you still in bed with your... Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why. Because I felt comfortable. I was safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't find out till I was 25 and preached my first sermon that any of this had happened. Absolutely.
Wow. So what was that conversation like afterwards?
They immediately, after the first sermon, it was the first time my husband heard, my parents, my babies were small. They immediately knew that I had been violated and kind of almost knew who the people were. Then after that, in my teenage years, it was an attempted rape, but my mom and dad was right there. We filed charges and, we moved forward. So that's why I always had to have my guards up, because it was like, it won't stop. So,
Right.
Yes. So they was shocked, overwhelmed. And then it took her back to the days that she was molested. She felt unprotected, but she was like, but I was there for you. And I had to explain to her, it's not that you wasn't there for me. I said, I felt like I was all alone and that you wasn't there. So there's a difference. She's better now, because at first she was like, I'm not understanding. She was a little offended, but she's good now.
So what advice would you give to another mom that after having their child and they're experiencing the same symptoms that you displayed with the postpartum, what advice would you give to a mom that's not feeling that connection?
What helped me, because I didn't seek counseling, a therapist, a psychologist, anything like that, it was my dad. He was a pastor at the time, and he came into the room and he prayed. He prayed for me. Did it get better instantly? No, but I felt comfort. So that was the first step. We connected in prayer, and he said, all is well. Then after that, I was still secluded, still in my own little world, but I talked to God more. I prayed, and it was God that began to give me direction. You're my child. You're more than a conqueror. The church that I was in, my pastor, speaking words, you have to forgive those that hurt you and forgive yourself. So I had to forgive. Why am I forgiving? For somebody who hurt me? Then I just had to forgive. And once I began to forgive, then I could recognize when I got in a depressed place, even with my second child. Then I began to get stronger as I got stronger in the word. So my encouragement to any mother that may be going through is to call on God. Go to him in prayer. Go to God in prayer. and he will deliver you. He'll put people in places in your life, but then don't feel so deep or so saved that you can't reach out for the resources that's there. Because if I would have just had the resources or somebody to direct me to talk to someone, I probably would have been a lot farther. But God says, I know the plans that I have for you. So it was all lining up with what God wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. But use your resources. Talk to someone. Get spiritual advice. Somebody who can connect and just won't give you fleshly advice in their opinion. But get the right type of resources. Reach out to your resources and to pray. Never leave God, because he said he'll never leave you or forsake you.
What are some things that you intentionally do to build that connection and bond with your sons? Once you started recognizing and decided, okay, I'm going to make this change, what were some things that you intentionally did?
So it started with my second Trey. I got more in depth as I got stronger in the word. I started speaking into his life, letting him know who he was going to be. You can do all things through Christ, because spirits transfer. And I began to see those same things come upon my children. They're to their self. They didn't like to, be sociable. And so we started making Trey, where I didn't make Robrell. I allowed him to be in that quiet place by himself. But with Trey, you got to get sociable, get into activities. I encouraged him to be involved, just the involvement piece, and let him know that he can do whatever he desired to do. Just talking to him. And now he'll come lay in my bed, or when he's down, I know it and I recognize. And then I begin to speak to his spirit and tell him who he is. Depression will not live here. You can fight this. You can do anything you put your mind to, son. Now with Robrell, he's still a little shy, still a little to himself. So with him, it's a little bit more silent. I just have to go to God and pray. And I'll say different things to him too, just to encourage him as well. But it's a different type of relationship, because he likes to be by himself like I do. But he's becoming too. But that's through encouragement. But it didn't happen till I got on the other side of 27, 28. Right. That I could encourage them. We go on family trips and we talk. We have those family nights. We play games and try to create memories through photos and vacations and things like that.
That's exciting. And so what inspires you? Because I know you say you're shy and you're to yourself. So what inspires you to say, hey, let me write this book?
What inspired me was I was laying in bed, and it was like one of those times where depression was trying to creep in. And I heard the Lord clearly saying, write your story. And I was like, okay, when I don't even know how to write. Here come the blockage, the comprehension, all of this coming back up. But he said, write. He said, if you write, then I'll connect the right people in your life to make it where it'll be understandable. And I started writing. It was just last year. He told me to call it Me, She, Her, a woman's journal for becoming. Because we can be whatever we were created to be. And once that got into my spirit, that we had dominion on earth, that we can have whatever we say as long as it's righteous, that just stayed with me. And I said, you said we can have dominion, so how can I get to dominion? And he just began to give me some of the scriptures that's in the journal to just meditate on daily. And as I started doing that, then I started seeing myself coming out of some things and getting into some things and walking into my destiny. That was the inspiration, that I didn't want any woman to be left behind. Sisterhood. It was my best friend that I talked about in the book. I was walking home alone. She was walking with another one of her best friends. She said, come walk with us. I said, me? She said, yeah, come walk with us. And from that day to now, we still walking together.
Right.
But if it wasn't for her saying, girl, I got you, come walk with us. You don't have to be alone. I probably would have been still walking alone without friends, because I would push them away.
Absolutely. And that was the guys behind actually starting this podcast. I started writing because that's what I'm good at. And he said, no, open your mouth and talk. It was so many things that I went through that had I asked or, had I asked for help, or had I even known that other people experienced this and I wasn't the only one, my progress would have happened a whole lot faster. Because with the whole postpartum, thinking that I wasn't connecting to my child, I was like, this is not what they show on TV. This is not what happens when women have kids. You're supposed to have this connection. I remember after having my daughter, the nurses went to give her to me, and I said, no, give her to her dad. And everybody kind of looked at me like, what's wrong with you? And then trying to make excuses. Well, am I supposed to be like these ladies on TV, crying and happy? And I wasn't. I was just overwhelmed and anxious about everything outside of her. I just didn't take the time to enjoy those moments. So I was thinking something in me was broken. So had I known that I'm not the only mom that doesn't immediately have that connection, I would have been better. I would have been more forgiving of myself. That's not how people say it's supposed to be. So thinking something's wrong with me. So wanting to create this podcast to say, hey, moms, there are other moms that experience this, and this is how they got through it. You're not the only one. There is help. There is hope. So just creating this outlet where we can come together and have conversations and then share those conversations with other women so that they know, oh, okay, other people experience this. I'm not by myself. Even with the mental blockage, I was like, wow, this happens. This is great to share, because I'm sure there are thousands of other women that are experiencing that and think that they're the only ones. And so knowing that, okay, well, somebody else experienced this, and she's able to connect with her kids. She's able to have family night and game night and have vacations. There is hope. I was just so inspired by your story. And I really love that the book has the places where you can journal.
Yes.
After reading certain parts, because it's like your memory and things come to mind, and it's easy to, at that point, get a pen and just write in based on some of the prompts that you have there to really start writing and pouring out your story and connecting. So I love the book. Absolutely love the book.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be with you and spend this time with you. But again, the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But God says, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. So there is hope after postpartum. But now there are resources. There are people that you can connect to. But most of all, connect with the Father, and He will see you through. So I'm excited about this journey of where God is getting ready to take me and the women to another level in Him. It's all about Him, that God gets the glory. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So tell everyone how they can get the book, how they can connect with you, or if they want to have book groups or ask you questions about the book. How do they connect with Ms. Keisha? You
can connect with me at www.keishalaw.com. You can also order the book at that website. I am on all digital outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Cobalt, all of those. Subscriber on keishalaw.com, and we can talk there. You can leave me an email or a message, and I definitely will get back with you. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is klaw_me, she, her. And on Facebook, it's Keisha Law.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Keisha.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Navigating My Crazy podcast. Don't forget to send all of your questions to questionswithans@navigatingmycrazy.com, or you can complete the form on our website at navigatingmycrazy.com/contact. Also, join the community and chime in on the conversations by liking and following Navigating My Crazy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Subscribe and rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. Moms, have a great week and get ready for our next Talk It Out Tuesday.